Damn, it's like a phone ringing in the background of the mix. Wonder what that means. Damn, that fucking phone ringing, no ways answering. It's fucking brutal, man. Hello and welcome to For the Record. So out of absolutely nowhere, Mac Miller has just dropped a second posthumous album titled Balloonerism. Just to give you guys a bit of a background with me and Mac Miller, his last album Circles, which was released shortly after his death, is one of my favorite albums of all time. Genuinely one of the most perfect pieces of music I've ever listened to. Definitely in my top 10, and a project that is very near and dear to my heart. I'm also quite a big fan of swimming, and in terms of his other projects, I've dabbled in a number of them, but haven't really sat down and listened to a majority of his body of work. And having discovered Mac Miller after his death, there is definitely a sense of not wanting to explore all of his work too quickly, because there is only a finite number of projects that he's released, and obviously he isn't able to release any more. At least that's what I thought, but here we have Balloonerism. So I have no idea what to expect from this album. I mean, it's listed as an album, not a mixtape, so I don't think this is going to be just a collection of unreleased songs, but maybe I'm wrong and maybe that is what it is. But if I had to guess, I assume that this is like a project that he worked on and maybe like stepped aside from it and focused on other things and never fully completed, but I assume there was enough of a skeleton there to have his team go back and finish it. Posthumous albums are quite a moral dilemma. I think it's very, very important that whatever gets put out after an artist's death is something that they would have approved, and it's not always easy to know that for sure. Circles obviously was pretty much finished, but this, I have no idea what era of Mac Miller this project comes from. Are we going to get a mixture from songs of different years, or was this a project that was worked on in a particular time frame before his passing? I have absolutely no idea what to expect, but all I can hope is that this doesn't do a disservice to Mac Miller's legacy. Let's get into it with track number 1, Tambourine Dream. Literally a tambourine, okay? Okay, so obviously not much to talk about there, it's just a tambourine for 33 seconds. Let's move on to track 2, DJ's Chord Organ. God, I love Scissors vocals. Damn, this is beautiful. Mac Miller always has fucking incredible production.
I love when you smell like your car, smell like you been driving for days. You ain't even stopped for gas, my nigga, Mr. Postman. Tell me the truth about it. Tell me the truth about it.
I love her vocal layering there. Nice. It's interesting, I don't think Mac Miller's been on this track yet. Maybe at the beginning. So much going on with this production. There's Mac. Bro is one of the best like owers ever to do it. Damn, that was beautiful. Okay, and that was the second track, DJ's Chord Organ featuring Scissor. And I have to say, I was a fan of that track, but probably not quite to the extent to add that one to my like songs. It's definitely one that I think will get better with more listens. In terms of wanting to listen to it outside of this album experience, don't see this one being one that I want to return to as a single all that often. I'm quite surprised by the sound of this track, to be honest. It's quite different to a lot of what Mac's done. It's very, very slow, and I don't mind that at all. And Mac himself is like barely on the track, only a few spoken words at the beginning and end, and SZA really takes up the main performance of the track, and she's fantastic. Her angelic vocals in the beginning are incredible. Her verses is really strong as well. It's just a nice way to kind of get eased into the album, to be honest, and the instrumental is what carries this track. Like, the fact that it's 5 minutes 15 doesn't matter when you've got production like this varied and this high class. Okay, next up, track 3, Do You Have a Destination?
Okay, I went to sleep, faded, and I woke up invisible. Keep the ingredients, but I got the kitchen full. Thoughts are cynical, actions unpredictable. Supermodel bitches hold auditions in my swimming pool. This feeling pretty invincible. Pray this life reciprocal, and I'ma come back an eagle. Saw that bullshit fade slow. It's gone, 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 gone.
Can't say I'm a massive fan of this chorus. Bit too much happening in the mix, I think.
Okay, I went to sleep famous and I woke up invisible. Rich fucking miserable. At least I did Kimmel and Arsenio. My mom got it on video.
Max flow is really good.
I live for, all this other shit is trivial.
To a miracle.
Just so, not so. Need to let the drugs go. Trying to find heaven, I get high but never come close. We still.
This definitely sounds like old Mac Miller. Not quite modern Mac Miller.
A middle finger to the cyber gods. Fall back or I'ma fuck around and let this virus off.
Yeah, I definitely think the chorus is the weakest part of this track. There's just a bit too much happening in the mix for me, and it's a bit too repetitive. Okay, and that was track 3, Do You Have a Destination? I have to say, wasn't a massive fan of that one. Didn't hate it or anything, but the chorus for me was a bit of a letdown. The mix isn't that pleasing to listen to. I find there's just a bit too much going on, and the repetitive nature of it isn't all that catchy for me. I like the verses. If I had to guess, I think this track sounds like the Good AM era, which is, I think, like 5 years or around 5 years before Mac passed away. So it doesn't sound like Swimming/Circles era Mac. I might be wrong on that, like, you know, who knows when he recorded it, but it does kind of sound like a slightly older sound for Mac Miller, like around that Good AM era, if I had to guess. And yeah, the song does tackle a few themes that is quite common within his music. Particularly one bar that stood out to me was him saying that he needs to let the drugs go. Obviously, you know, with Mac's passing, those kind of throwbacks are a little darker than perhaps what they once were, which is quite sad. But overall, like, I can't say I'm a massive fan of that track, and it's really weighed down by the hook for me. The verses, however, were really solid. Okay, let's move on to the by far most popular track off of this album, $5 Pony Rides.
I can show you the world, girl. What can you do for me?
Nice. I love when Mac Miller sings.
Take a vacation, go somewhere in the country. Turn the radio on, hear my song saying, my favorite song saying, girl, you're wasting my time, and I am wasting your time, but that's okay. I said it's okay.
It's very fucking
Let me give you what you want. Ooh, and maybe later what you need. Should've got you that morning. Let me give you what you want. Killing yourself like this, going crazy, keeping all of these.
I like that hook.
How was that living? Every time I reminisce, I keep thinking it was better than. You keep going back and forth.
Nice.
Let me give you what you want.
Mac's performance is really good so far.
Ooh, and maybe later what you need. Yeah, your daddy should've got you that morning. Let me give you what you want.
I like the structure of that hook. It's really good.
Can I give you what you need?
Nice.
Can I give you what you want?
I really love the soundscape on this particular track. It's a little bit more similar to, say, Swimming. So maybe this was a different era to the previous track. Okay, and that was track 4, $5 Pony Rides. Gonna add that one to my like songs without a doubt. That was incredible. So here we have Mac pondering whether or not he can be a good partner for this woman, both with what she wants, which might be referring to a more materialistic side or a more casual day-to-day comforting kind of side, and what she needs, which is essentially, is he the right person for her long term, and can they make it work? And I think this is just a super relatable kind of subject matter and thought for a lot of people, and it's all melded together with this really beautiful instrumental that I think highlights a lot of Mac's strengths as a vocalist. And yeah, it's just a really unique track. Like it obviously does sound familiar for Mac's music, but it also feels quite fresh as well, and it's just really well executed. Like there's no real problems with it, I don't think. So definitely easy to see why this is the most popular on the album, and definitely really enjoyed it. Okay, next up, track 5, Friendly Hallucinations.
Can you hear the whispers of an innocent, ignorant child in the ocean? Get to swimming or drown.
Okay, this sounds like swimming era Mac.
Girl, I love the way your body fit inside that gown. There's help inside that medicine cabinet. Came in for the answers, but she left with a habit. There's no one on the other end of that telephone. Let's fall asleep to the metronome. Yeah.
Damn. This is smooth.
Does it feel?
It's another vocalist, is that Scissor?
So what's it feel
Can't quite
like?
tell, to be honest.
Yeah. Tell me, is it real if you can't hold it in your arms, but it can touch you? Feel its texture pressing up against your chest. You say I love you, you don't hear it back. Falling victim to a world that's filled with satire. And if love is just a fantasy, what's the problem if you fall in love with fantasy? They assume she's confused with delusions she's creating in the waiting room for psychiatric evaluation. She doesn't have the patience to be treated like a patient. It'll be okay if she just swallowed this pill.
Damn, that was a really good verse. I like that though, it's really nice. Mac's vocals are like a warm hug, they're just so soothing.
There's a paradise waiting on the other side of the dock. Whoa.
Okay, and that was track 5, Friendly Hallucinations, and I did enjoy that one quite a bit. Mac's performance is really solid. I like the hook a lot. The production kind of reminds me a bit of Swimming from that project, but it definitely wouldn't shock me if it was recorded earlier as well, because he was dabbling in that sound for quite a while before Swimming as well. And yeah, the subject matter of the track, at least my interpretation of it, is Mac kind of talking about this idea of love as if it's like a drug, and is love really real or not if it's not tangible, and does that even matter? I think it's quite a interesting track that I'd like to return to. I wish the outro wasn't as long. Like, I don't mind longer and slower tracks, but I feel like you could have trimmed 20-30 seconds off this track without losing anything. But yeah, definitely an enjoyable track, close to being added to my like songs, but probably one that'll eventually end up on there on future listens. So yeah, enjoyed that one quite a bit. Okay, next up, track 6, Mrs. Deborah Downer.
Yeah, nothing is impossible. Do the shit together, we unstoppable. Raised to be a leader, not a navigator. Wrote down on scraps of paper. All roads lead to the same confusion. Oh well, redemption is the funny
The
bitch.
bass is nice.
The devil always be right where the money is. Somebody gotta be watching you, but no one is. It's kinda crazy, life could be this simple. Even pills turn to powder, right?
Nice.
Even pills turn to powder. The world wanna crush them down. Everything seems so slow.
His vocals are on point here.
My past, thought that it would last longer. I just thought that this feeling would last longer.
Damn.
Yeah.
If that's Mac on the vocals, that's insane. Like, it's a beautiful falsetto.
Now I wanna see the whole world through a telecast. Been waiting my whole life, I finally thought I should tell you that.
Nice.
Yeah.
The fucking drums,
Started
bro.
smoking weed again. Started trying to read again. Clean myself up. Now would you be my friend? Original sin. We all come from the same struggle.
That was a fantastic verse.
Money coming slow. What you gonna do?
I wonder what he means by the money coming slow, like just reflecting on like his past, or not sure.
What you gonna do? Money coming slow.
Okay, and that was track 6, Miss Deborah Downer. Gonna add that one to my like songs as well. That was a really impressive track. So for me, I think that song, not necessarily saved by, but heavily elevated by that second verse. That was an incredible verse that kind of pushed that song from being decent to really good for me. The production is really, really nice. I love the subtlety of it and how the drums would sometimes kick in. The bass was really nice. Mac's performance is really strong. Lyrically, I think that second verse is incredible, and his work on like the falsetto owing was beautiful. The hook was really nice as well. And yeah, really tapping into that relatability that I really loved from Circles, where he's talking about like his direction in life and reflecting on the past and wondering about the future. I think there's some references to drug use as well. It really is like, sounds like a quintessential Mac Miller track. It has all of the characteristics that make him so great in it, both with regards to lyrics, themes, and the production as well. Really smooth performance by Mac, and that second verse is definitely a highlight from this album for me so far. Okay, next up, track 7, Stoned.
She breaks down the paint. She rolls up the weed. She far from a saint. She's all that I need. She lost in her thoughts, so hardly she speaks. Her mind's always dirty and her soul's never free. She never been a groupie. She just in love with the music. She watched depressing movies. Put on a record, can I play you one more song?
The electric guitar is nice.
Can run from your shadow, can't hide from yourself. She hates that she cries when she's all by herself, and she's always all by herself. She hardly talks in conversation, but when she do, all her words get lost in translation. No, she can't move. Isolation, she locking the bathroom door.
I like the production, it's quite unique.
Baby, let's get stoned.
I'm not crazy about the chorus, but I think the vibe of it's like better than the sum of its parts.
I swear to God, heaven feels just like home. Let's go.
Oh, his background vocals are beautiful. Like guitar. Nice.
Isolation, she locking the bathroom door. Baby, let's get stoned. Let's go home.
Nice. Okay, and that was track 7, Stoned. And there's a lot of elements that I really like about that track, but it just kind of falls short of being one to add to my like songs. However, I can definitely see this one being quickly added to that list on future listens. Performance-wise, it's great. Like, I really like Mac's verses, and the hook, while I'm not crazy about it, is pleasant to listen to at least. The track is about a relationship that he has with someone who he stresses isn't a groupie, but definitely a more casual relationship where they just kind of do drugs together. Some really nice deep bars about how, you know, she cries when she's alone and she's alone all the time. I thought that was quite nice. Locking herself in the bathroom to do drugs. And I like Mac when he's being incredibly introspective and thematic with his very deep, thought-provoking tracks. This isn't that for me. With that being said, like, it's still quite an enjoyable track to listen to. Alright, let's move on to track 8, Shangri-La.
Don't be afraid to put your 2 cents in. Might not be able to afford anything, but
Nice.
I'm always up for a bargain.
I'm liking the production already.
Okay, I was driving up to Shangri-La to get my meditation on. I was thinking Lamb of God, she was thinking Saint Laurent. She sell the pussy on Millionaires Avenue. Paper's not the problem, spending money always casual. Flow is hostile, but don't sleep. The codeine came back to get me high again. Just how
That's a nice floor.
It's the house garage in Southern Village of Unusual. If I'm dying young, promise you'll smile at my funeral.
I am getting ready to sign my life away. The weather's nice today, what a perfect day to die. She killed herself, but she'd rather get married. There's coconut vodka, but she'd rather have cherry. Brand new dinette set, but she still don't know how to set the table. I told her that this feeling about as good as it gets. Shit, that bitch so unstable.
Yeah, it's just a rule to follow. Live today 'cause you can lose tomorrow.
Okay, and that was track 8, Shangri-La, and I have to say I wasn't a big fan of that one at all. I couldn't really get any kind of substance out of the track or its meaning. I do have a slight problem with a lot of Mac's earlier material. The lyrics can be quite corny, especially when you compare it to like Swimming in Circles, where he's very profound. And I think Shangri-La does sound like that kind of early Mac Miller era where he was still kind of finding his feet as a lyrical artist, at least. Yeah, while the production's decent, I didn't really care for the hook, and it doesn't really quite come together for me in a complete package, so wasn't really a big fan of that one, if I'm being honest. Okay, let's move on to track 9, Funny Papers.
There's only so much time.
Nice.
Yeah, somebody died today. I saw his picture in the funny
Love the
papers.
piano.
Didn't think anybody died on a Friday. Some angry banker or some kind of money trader recently divorced or drunk driving down the highway. The hospital was useless and everything was quiet but the music. Recently I only meet peace when in deep sleep in the same
the vocalering is nice.
Smile on her face waiting on the other side. I wonder if he'll take me to the other side. Yeah. All he said was he's in no rush. If I could just pay my rent by Tuesday.
Fuck, I'm loving this. This is far better.
The moon's wide awake with a smile on his face as he smuggle constellations in a suitcase. Don't you love silence? Do you love silence?
Oh, this is so fucking good. Wow.
Somebody gave birth to a baby boy. I saw his picture in the funny papers. 11 pounds named after his Uncle Gabriel. The mind go with age, don't surrender. By mistake, I misplaced all of my remembers. Baby, there's a little vacation in the dresser. Take one for depression and two for your temper. Just pay my rent by Tuesday. I bet I'll be rich by April Fool's Day. Oh shit, here come the
Another
icebreaker.
verse, alright.
It's danger when he's bringing out the lightsaber. The word's awesome, but he's talking out of turn off, and I blew the fuck up. Then became the world's problem. Cause when the snake starts slithering, you spot the chameleons. You realize you surrounded by reptilians. Shit,
Damn.
I ain't an innovator. It's a motherfucking illustrator.
Damn. Piano is so beautiful. The production's been probably my favorite on this track. Just all comes together, it's so listenable.
Why does it matter at all?
Okay, and that was track 9, Funny Papers. I'm definitely gonna add that one to my like songs. That is an incredible track. I'd have to say that like is easily my favorite track off of this album so far, and would parachute quite highly into my favorite Mac Miller songs of all time. Like, for a first listen to like it this much, it does have the secret sauce. What stands out to me is the production. I love piano, the bass, it just, everything comes together so well here, and Mac just glides on the beat beautifully with these 3 poignant verses, talking about things that he's reading in the newspaper and kind of reflecting and relating that to his own life. There's that beautiful bar as well in the hook, everything quiet but the music, do you love silence? I really like that bar a lot, and I think the hook's great. All 3 verses are great. I like the subject matter, and it's something that I just automatically want to listen to again. Okay, let's move on to track 10, Excelsior.
On 4th Street, the orphan children play on the jungle gym. Little Timmy broke his arm again on the monkey bars. Johnny's dad
Okay,
got
this
a
is
nicer
something quite
car than all
different.
the other kids. He becomes the alpha and picks on everybody else. Before there were rules, before there were limits, your only enemies were
Brussels sprouts and spinach.
Me, I used to wanna be a
That's
wizard.
real.
When did life get so serious? Whatever happened to apple juice and car wheels?
Whatever happened to apple juice and car wheels?
Okay, so that was Excelsior, and that's an extremely interesting track. Like, I haven't heard anything like that before from any artist, let alone Mac Miller. I wish the track had another verse, to be honest. Like, I feel like I wanted more out of it. I didn't really love the chorus at the end. I was really only interested in that first verse, and subsequently, like, I would have just liked a little bit more from it. But that first verse was really solid, obviously talking about, like, a playground environment at school, and sounds like Mac's kind of reminiscing and reflecting on not only, like, maybe his childhood, but, like, what being a child is like, and how growing up changes us so profoundly and you know, takes away our innocence, gives us like adult problems that we have to deal with, and Mac's just here reminiscing what it's like being a child again. And I quite like the soundscape with like kids playing in the background. It's nice. I just wish there was a little bit more to it, to be honest. Yeah, I would have liked another verse, but maybe Mac felt like he said everything he wanted to say, and who can really argue with that? Alright, next up is track 11, Transformations, featuring Delusional Thomas. I have no idea who that is, but I'm keen to check it out.
Okay, so, alright, psychopathic thinker, hyperactive drinker, do my shit up with a thumb up like Henry Winkler. My bitch like a king cover, put it
I'm
in
not
her
a fan of this
sphincter.
vocal effect
Bitch
at all.
like a bad fart.
All she do is linger.
Shit, I should have been a singer.
Can't say I'm a fan of
I should
this.
have been Kurt Schilling, would have had a sinker. Ahead of y'all chilling, you looking in my blinkers. Rappers are some bumblebees, pulling out your stingers. Say your motherfucking drill, bitch, I'm young Jehovah. In the backyard with pads on, running Oklahomas.
Okay, and that was track 11, Transformations, and definitely the worst track on the album so far. This just brings absolutely nothing to the table, doesn't need to be there. The vocal effect on, I assume it's Mac Miller speaking, like otherwise, well, I assume it was just the one person speaking the entire time, but you can't even tell if it's Mac or not because the vocal effect, it just sounds so terrible. It just sounds so terrible, and there's some pretty cheesy lyrics in here as well, and yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all. Like, even the production is quite bland, to be honest, so definitely a huge letdown. That is one of the few bad tracks on this record. Let's hope track 12, Mannequins, picks up the pace again.
Well, my good days are exactly like the bad ones. My bitch say that I defy the laws of attraction. I've always been terrified of ending up normal. I asked God to take me on a perfect day. Swear I saw him crying, don't know why everyone's sure it's rain. Life just gets so boring, playing superhero makes it fun. But why is heroism so close to heroin?
Fuck.
Not scared of growing old and dying. Feel this where the answer lives. You wear the garments, everybody needs to dress the mannequins. Cause I see the light at the end of the tunnel. It feels like I'm dying, I'm dead.
Not a huge fan of that hook, but I think the beat's really strong and the verses are strong. Okay, and that was track 12, Mannequins, and I have to say, like, the song was decent, it was fine, but not quite enough going for it to make its way onto my like songs. But I really liked how introspective it was, again, akin to some of my favorite stuff from Mac, predominantly on Circles. There's that really fucking deep bar about heroism and heroin being so close together. Like, that's a very good lyric, and I think lyrically the track was quite impressive, but for me, it was just dragged down by not quite having a strong melody to it, particularly with regards to the hook. I think if the hook was a little stronger, this song would definitely be one of my favorites, but without that essential part of the track, it does get dragged down just slightly for me. Decent track, but nothing special. Okay, let's check out the penultimate track, Rick's Piano, track number 13.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin?
Rubin who?
Rick Rubin's piano.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, E.T.'s not dead, he's just a little bit faded. Please don't give me any credit, that's how people get jaded. Please don't nod your head, and please don't tell me I made it. Cause people start to get worse once they think they the greatest.
Damn.
the best.
What a way to start your verse.
To come. Yeah.
That's fucking true.
I told her it'd get better soon. I probably should have told her when she was in a better mood. Spent her paycheck on that lingerie, she's scared to put it on. She never let her boyfriend see her in a thong, but
The best is yet to come.
I shot myself on my birthday. Fell
This
into
is
the
so fucking
ocean.
good.
Listened to their voices, I was lost in the commotion. None of us are chosen, now forgive them for their ignorance. But what's a man gotta do for a little bliss?
Don't be saying this shit back. Don't be asking that question, bro. Love the production on this. What a beautiful track. Really feels like that could have been the album closer though. Yeah, so Rick's piano, which ultimately was explained to be Rick Rubin's piano. I assume that means Rick Rubin was on the production, but you know, who knows for sure. Really beautiful track. The verses here were particularly fantastic. I don't mind the long-winded outro if it's like the album closer, so it's quite interesting to see there's another track and another 12-minute track as well after this. It feels like that would have been a good place to end the album, but we'll wait and see with the next track. But yeah, I absolutely loved how the best is yet to come kind of refrains would pop in throughout the verse as he would continue on. Mac's flow is incredible. I really like how he's pondering about the future, and he's also talking about like ego and how he doesn't want people to, you know, like tell him how good he is because he thinks people get complacent when they're at the top. The way he starts this song is just incredible. I didn't really much care for the long-winded intro with the discussion in the booth with someone who I'm not too sure who it is, but like I think that could have been cut, to be honest. It kind of just gets in the way of what is like a really strong start to the song after that, but outside of that, the track is fantastic, and I'm gonna add that one to my like songs without a doubt. Pretty brutal to hear Mac questioning like what does death feel like, given that he found out a little bit too early, but you know, these kind of deep bars, haunting lyrics are quite present throughout Mac's discography, and this track's no different. Okay, let's move on to the 14th and final track of the album, Tomorrow We'll Never Know.
Do you fear that you'll have no control?
Damn.
Walk through this world with your head above water, shoes made of copper just trying to flow, cards in your hand. You're looking at nothing. You wonder when God will just listen and give you a break. See, living and dying are one and the same.
Fuck, that's a brutal bar.
Do they dream just like we do? Dream just like we do.
Very stripped back and raw performance happening right now. I'm interested to see how this track progresses, given its length.
You've been waiting for answers. These parades and dancers keep building your castles from straw. All made of water, you swim to the shore. The streets that you walk on are shallow, but do you feel as big as your shadow?
Damn.
Do they love just like we do? Feel just like we do.
Damn, it's like a phone ringing in the background of the mix. I wonder what that means. Damn, that fucking phone ringing, nobody's answering. So that was track 14, Tomorrow We'll Never Know. Oh, I just need a minute. Man, that song was pretty tough, because sitting there just listening to like 7-8 minutes of just an instrumental and a phone ringing, you wouldn't really think that could have any kind of impact on you. And but there was just a certain point where I think this entire album clicked. Like looking at the album cover, reflecting on the tracks that came before it, I think I have a grasp of this project now, and kind of took until this track to come to it. So I might be completely wrong in this, but my interpretation is that this is an album about Mac dealing with his drug abuse, with the metaphor of a balloon, and the album cover of him holding onto a balloon floating up to the sky. The higher he gets, the more likely he is to pop. The questions and references to death and even God throughout the album give me an indication that this was like almost Mac foreshadowing his death. And it's been done in certain songs before, like particularly on Circles, but this album feels like his kind of battle with that specifically. Like the fact that this is a project that sounds like it was recorded a long time before his death, but hasn't been released until a long time after his death, almost gives me the impression that Mac didn't want this project released until he died, or in case he died, almost implying that he knew he wasn't going to live a long life. Hearing kids playing in the background, reminiscent of the track Excelsior, while a phone rings and while a phone rings and no one's able to answer it, implying that Mac was ODing on the floor, and reminiscing about his life and childhood when he was most happy. It's fucking brutal, man. So yeah, that was Mac Miller's album Balloonerism, potentially the last album that we ever get from Mac Miller. It's a pretty haunting way to finish his discography, but I think it's a very important part of his discography, and I definitely want to spin it back and listen to it again to see if my interpretation holds up. That's how I'm feeling on a first listen. I have no idea when this was recorded. I have no idea if these songs were ever leaked. I have no idea if this was ever an album or whether it was just some kind of unreleased songs chalked together, but this feels like it has Mac Miller's fingerprints all over it. You know, for that reason, I'm just glad we got one last Mac album. So yeah, in terms of my favorite tracks, Funny Papers was a standout for me. $5 Pony Rides was fantastic, and Rick's Piano. I think those were definitely my favorite three. I can see a few other tracks like DJ's Chord Organ, Friendly Hallucinations, Stoned. Like, I can see these tracks really growing on me with future listens. On a first listen, they didn't quite make the cut for my like songs, but I think so much of this album works as a album experience rather than singles being taken away from it to listen to in isolation. Yeah, what we got was a very profound piece of art, very much like Circles. Doesn't quite have the standout musical elements that Circles has, but I feel like this was a very personal album, and I feel like Mac got a lot off of his chest, some of which we've heard before, but some which was unique as well. And I think the ending is pretty rough, man. Like, Tomorrow We'll Never Know, that's it's a pretty deep track to end your career on. If I had to rate this album out of 100, I mean, it feels rough giving this a rating, to be honest, particularly on a first listen. There was plenty that I didn't love about it, but overall, like, for any kind of project to have an emotional impact on me, it has to be something special, and I think that with future listens, it will only be more special. And sometimes art doesn't need a rating next to it. And I think for this particular project, I'm going to refrain from giving a first impressions rating. This is an experience for Mac Miller fans, and I think it's something special that doesn't need to be given a number associated with it. But anyway, that's my thoughts on Balloonerism. What are your thoughts? What's your favorite songs? Leave them in the comment section down below. What did you think of this project? I'd love to hear what everyone's thoughts are. I have no idea how well this album is being received. I haven't heard anything about this album, but based off this initial listen, I feel like the fans are really going to appreciate this one, even if a more general audience probably won't like a lot of what's on here. It's a very personal album, and I think that the fans will really appreciate getting to listen to Mac Miller, one last time. Anyway, this has been For The Record. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.